So guys, I'm doing a video series, and pardon me, I have a bit of a cold, but I want to do a list of people who should be in the Owen Hart tournament. And I was kind of thinking to myself, I know that there's 8 brackets this year, but I think there should be like 16 brackets, because obviously, you know what, you want to do a couple of things. You want to kind of, spread this out all the way until, all the way until like AEW All In. There's also talk about July pay per view, so you can have a bunch of matches like leading up to the July pay per view, very similar to the Continental Classic. And then the other thing that I really want to say about this is also too that I'm really thinking about, like, when I think about 16 people for the men's tournament, I want people who are box office. I want people who have won. I want people who are believable. And I also just want to make sure that, and as people are talking about, when you look at the Wembley Stadium tickets, they sold over 20,000. That's horrible. That's unacceptable. That's like maybe a little over 20% of the audience. No, that's a little over 25%. That's 25% really. So you got to have really great matches. You got to have really compelling shit. You got to have people who can talk and really compel, and this means a lot to them. So I'm going to give you a list of 16 people who should be in the Owen Hart men's tournament. Handy dandy notebook. My first pick is MJF or Darby Allin. So whoever loses at Double or Nothing should be in the Owen Hart tournament. Obviously, MJF is very charismatic. Darby Allin, obviously very charismatic. He is a wrestler. He is somebody that, when he has matches, we all pay attention. So why not have one of these people? Or it could be a redemption arc, or like, okay, I lost here, but I'm going to make sure that I win on the biggest show of the year. The next person is Jon Moxley, because he's a former champion. If he loses to anybody, it elevates them. Like, I have some other people on my list who have not been former champions. So I think that's good. And then also the other good thing about it is that I have some other Death Rider members on this. So you can start like maybe, hey, Jon Moxley versus the Death Rider member for leadership of the group. Or you can even do something where Jon Moxley says, hey, you know what? I'm going to go out. I'm not going to have any cheating or whatever. And then he actually goes far. Or you can do something where he loses. And then maybe one of the other members of the Death Rider says, hey, you're a loser. We need to take you out, really. But also, too, when you have a champion in a world champion in a tournament, and they make it to the finals, or if they don't make it to the finals, whoever beats that champion looks big and stronger, especially if they've never been a champion before, really. The next person is Kevin Knight. He's had a very strong year. I think that he needs to kind of keep having more matches. He's at that point where he's going from a wrestler to, if he's on a pay-per-view, people will pay to see him type of thing. So I really think that putting him in this tournament is the right thing to do to actually, actually push him to the next level. The next person I have is Okada, because Okada has great matches, and he also won the G1 tournament. And the other thing about it is, it's almost like if you do Okada versus Takeshita, what do you do with Okada after if he loses the title, or if he retains the title? You have to be like, okay, he's been a champion for a long time. His gimmick is to be a rainmaker, like a rich guy, arrogant jerk, really. So when he won the major title, like, kind of push him, keep pushing him to that next level, really. Find the next big thing for Okada, really, and that should be this tournament. The next person that I have, I'm going to say this, that I crossed his name out, but I also have Ace Austin in this. Because Ace Austin is known for having really great matches in AEW. It's also important, as Russell Toddy said, you can't have the same people over and over. We need to see something different. And then if Ace Austin gets far, but he loses to like maybe a Don Callis family member, or like Kevin Knight or Jon Moxley, or somebody else holding a title, you can do something where Ace Austin goes after that title or something like that. And then also, too, you know what? He's from TNA Wrestling. There's a lot of people who said that Ace Austin should have been the TNA champion. But, kind of prove to TNA, prove to WWE that there are some people on your roster that are from those companies or that could have joined WWE but they chose AEW. Like make something out of people. Like Ace Austin. Like you're doing great with Kevin Knight, but there's more TNA people that could stand out. And speaking of TNA people, I would have Samoa Joe for obvious reasons. Former champion. If he doesn't make it to the finals, it's still a really, really good look because obviously anybody who beats him, like an Ace Austin or other people that I have on this list, it does look really, really good. The next person is Andrade because obviously he has a lot of charisma right now. Um, and I think there might be a day where he becomes the NJPW champion. I know he won a title in New Japan, and then also too he wrestled I think Yuta Tsuyoshi, if I'm saying his name correctly, for the NJPW championship, heavyweight championship, but he lost. But I do think that again, he's a lot of charisma. It's just like a reinvention of his career. A lot of people are saying, "Hey, look at this Andrade guy." He went back to WWE and they didn't do a great job to him. Now he went back to AEW and now he's a big star. So, and he's also been having great matches. He's been standing out this year. Why not? Utilize that. The next person I have is Anthony Bowens because he's been improving. He's been doing a lot of really great stuff. And you also have to say, hey, now he's with Samoa Joe. So can he show that working with Joe has improved him? You need to show, okay, well, who is Anthony Bowens without Max Caster? Who's Anthony Bowens when he is on consistent television? Because I think that there's a lot to him, and if he's improving, getting better, do something. He has a really great voice. He's very emphatic. So I think you need to kind of push him big, really. And then, as Russell Tide said, it's a different person, really. It's a different person than just the same old people that you expect or the predictable people. The next person's Bandito, Ring of Honor champion. It makes sense to put a Ring of Honor champion in your tournament. The next part of it is that Bandito has done a lot for the company. There's the Mexican crowd. There's talks of AEW going to Mexico City again this year for Grand Slam. He gets a lot of reaction. Has really great matches. Definitely, I think in my opinion, last year he was the wrestler of the year, or like the newcomer of the year, or rookie of the year, or something like that. Like he was kind of like the standout wrestler of last year. So I really, as far as AEW goes, so I really think that you need to kind of reward all that. The next person I have is Bobby Lashley, and the reason why I want to do Bobby Lashley is because there's a talk in AEW that one of the biggest problems is they don't push big men. And then also, the other big problem is that you have people like Bobby Lashley, and he may not ever wrestle for the World Heavyweight title because they may say, well, what do you do when you have a match with Bobby Lashley? Here's a guy who can lift 500-pound viscera. He can lift the Big Show. He can spear people through steel cages. He did like a flip on a steel cage, knocked down Umaga. So there may be conversations where it's like Bobby cannot wrestle for heavyweight titles because he'd be too dominant, really. But I think it's important to say let's unleash the beast, really. It wouldn't hurt Syndicate want to go after the major title. And then also, if you win like the biggest title in the company, don't you get a promotion? Don't you get like first class seating? Don't they treat you like, don't they wine dine you? Wouldn't it make sense for the Hurt Syndicate to do that? And again, you do Joe versus Bobby Lashley. A lot of people would like that. Swerve Strickland, for obvious reasons. Former champion, has great matches. You can set up Kevin Knight versus Swerve Strickland, or you can also have like Okada versus Swerve Strickland as a dream match. There's a lot of great matches you can do. I have Chris Jericho on this because Chris Jericho's retiring. He has great matches. He is charismatic. People do care about him. Even though I think that he should retire, really, but I think that, and he was also the first AEW champion, so I really think that having him in the tournament is good. I also think he's going to win like Stadium Stampede, so it's almost like, why don't you have a winner of a tournament or somebody who wins like at a major show in a major match, or a major match with a major match stipulation? Why don't you have them in the tournament? So it makes sense to do that. The next person is Pac, because Pac's a great wrestler. He's definitely very fit. He's very muscular. He looks legit, like he's a legitimate champion. And the other thing with Pac is the other thing about Pac is too that you can set up Pac versus Moxley for ownership of the ownership of the Death Riders. I crossed this out, but I said Eddie Kingston, great talker, but he's injury prone. Konosuke Takeshita, for two reasons. He was the former New Japan Pro Wrestling champ. He's a former champion. He has great matches. Also, too, WWE does not push a lot of Japanese men or Asian men towards their heavyweight championship. So you can have Takeshita wrestle for the AEW championship because it says, hey, well, people who are Japanese or people who are Asian can be champions of our company, not in WWE where that doesn't happen. So it's a good look. The next person I have is I'm not sure why I have this, but I have Jack Perry. And I think for a couple of reasons. I think that he's won a lot. He's very charismatic. He's an underdog type of wrestler. And so you just had Darby Allin. So this is like the last of the four pillars. I mean, you have Sammy Guevara and then you have Jack Perry. But I think with Jack Perry, he's very, very charismatic. He could win a couple of matches. I think he wrestled in the G1 really. And even though he fucked up the company with CM Punk, I really think that the fact that he did Anarchy in the Arena, got hit by a flamethrower, he really just came back and he did a lot of just what's the word? He did a lot of double duty, or he did a lot of like, you know what? I'm gonna do the shit work. I'm gonna be hit with the flamethrower. I'm gonna do all this really crazy crap. Really, like he's really just trying to make redemption, really, and I respect that, and I do get that. But I also feel that it's okay to have an underdog in a tournament. There's Kenny Omega. So Kenny Omega obviously has really great matches. He may be close to retirement, so you may want to have like like the one more shot at glory type of thing. You can even set up Omega versus Jack Perry as like a match for Wembley Stadium. Like the student versus the teacher or the old man versus the young man type of thing. The last person is Will Ospreay for obvious reasons. Like, he's a UK person. We don't know what's up with Ospreay. Like, if he's going to be a turn heel or he's going to be confused about who he is because of John Moxley. There's also kind of that thing, too, of if he betrays John Moxley, then you'll have the Death Riders fucking up his matches. The other thing about Will Ospreay is that he's trying to change his offense style. Like, he's probably going to be more hard-hitting and whatever. And that's kind of what's needed because he can't be that high flyer guy. He's almost like with AJ Styles, because AJ Styles, when he became that tweener character or that no one character in TNA, his style was a little bit more different, really. So there's times when a wrestler needs to change things up, really. But I think with Ospreay too, him winning in front of his countrymen, or being in a big spot, or a lot of people are paying to see that. That's what a lot of people predict. A lot of people predicting MJF versus Will Ospreay, really. So I think that obviously you want to include him to make everybody feel like, okay, we're gonna get what we want, really. So those are like the 16 people that I think should be in the men's Owen Hart tournament.